How did Micron Technology, which saw FY 2023 revenue decline to $15.54 billion and a $5.83 billion net loss, reach about $37.4 billion of revenue, with roughly 41% gross margins and 56% data center revenue by FY 2025? The answer runs through $10 billion of AI server memory products and a multi-year memory supercycle, in which Micron says AI servers use roughly 3 times as much DRAM as traditional servers. Micron was founded in 1978 in Boise, Idaho, and remains headquartered in Boise. Micron designs, manufactures, and sells DRAM and NAND memory products, including SSDs, serving data center, mobile, PC client, automotive, and industrial markets. Historically, DRAM has contributed approximately 70 to 77% of Micron's total revenue, while NAND has contributed about 23–30%. In FY 2022, Micron reported revenue of $30.76 billion and net income of $8.68 billion. In other words, Micron entered the downturn with $30.76 billion of revenue, $8.68 billion of net income, and a product mix where DRAM historically contributed 70 to 77% of revenue and NAND 23–30%. Here's the problem. In FY 2023, Micron's revenue fell to $15.54 billion, a decline of approximately 49% year-over-year from FY 2022. The company moved from $8.68 billion of net income in FY 2022 to a net loss of $5.83 billion in FY 2023. Micron attributed this FY 2023 downturn to memory oversupply, a sharp price collapse, and China-related headwinds. So within 1 year, revenue declined by roughly 49% and profitability swung from $8.68 billion of net income to a $5.83 billion net loss. Here's their position. In FY 2024, Micron's revenue rose to $25.11 billion, about 62% year-over-year growth, with GAAP net income of $7.8 billion, operating income around $1.9 billion, and an operating margin near 8%. Micron's FY 2024 operating cash flow was $8.51 billion, and net capital expenditures were $8.12 billion, yielding roughly $39 billion of positive free cash flow. Its FY 2024 gross margin reached 23.7%, an improvement of more than 31 percentage points compared with FY 2023. Relative to FY 2023's $15.54 billion of revenue and $5.83 billion net loss, FY 2024 marked a return to revenue growth and positive earnings. By FY 2025, Micron's DRAM revenue reached approximately $28.6 billion, accounting for about 77% of total revenue and growing roughly 62% year-over-year, while NAND revenue was about $8.5 billion, or 23% of revenue, with year-over-year growth around 18%. This FY 2025 mix aligns with Micron's historical pattern in which DRAM contributed approximately 70 to 77% of revenue and NAND roughly 23 to 30%. In FY 2025, Micron reported combined revenue of $10 billion from HBM high-capacity DIMMs and LP server DRAM, approximately 5 times the prior year's level, while stating that AI servers use roughly 3 times as much DRAM as traditional servers and contribute to a multi-year memory supercycle. Micron announced it was exiting lower-margin consumer channels under its Crucial brand to focus more on enterprise and hyperscaler customers. Technologically, Micron's 1-beta generation DDR5 RDMMs are specified to reach up to 9,200 MT per second and deliver more than 45% bit density improvement, about 22% energy efficiency gains, and up to 16% lower latency versus its prior 3DS TSV products. Looking ahead, Micron's FY 2025 revenue reached approximately $37.4 billion, about 50% year-over-year growth compared with FY 2024, and its gross margin expanded to roughly 41%. For FY 2025, Micron reported GAAP net income of $8.54 billion and operating income of $9.77 billion. Operating cash flow in FY 2025 was $17.53 billion, with net capital expenditures of $13.8 billion, yielding adjusted free cash flow of $3.72 billion. Micron's data center segment accounted for 56% of total company revenue in 2025, approximately $20.7 billion, with a gross margin around 52%. In Q3 FY 2025, Micron's HBM business alone reached an annualized revenue run rate of more than $6 billion, and by Q4 FY 2025, company revenue was $11.32 billion, with non-GAAP EPS of $3.33, and HBM revenue in the quarter approaching $2 billion, roughly an $8 billion annualized run rate. In Q1 FY 2026, Micron reported revenue of $13.6 billion and guided for Q2 2026 non-GAAP revenue of about $18.7 billion, with an expected gross margin around 68%. As of FY 2025, Micron held cash and marketable investments totaling approximately $9 billion. As of late 2024, Wall Street consensus had expected FY 2025 revenue around $35 billion, with EPS in the 7.9 range, which Micron ultimately exceeded with about $37.4 billion of revenue and substantially higher EPS. The trade-off, by FY 2025, Micron combined approximately $37.4 billion of revenue, $17.53 billion of operating cash flow, $13.8 billion of net capital expenditures, and about $9 billion of cash and marketable investments, positioning the company for outcomes tied to the multi-year AI memory supercycle. Describes